Hi, Robin with Oxy-Dry. I'm doing a small townhouse today. Doing the bedroom and going into the closet in here. This is a Olefin. I guess you'd call it a Berber. More of a I don't know if they call it actually a Berber with the one of this kind of stripy kind of effect they have on the pile. Berber tends to be just more of a just a, I guess you could say random nubs. There's no actual pattern in the carpet, whereas this one actually has a pattern. So I guess technically you would call this a multi-level loop with a patterned loop, I guess is what we're going to call it. And overall, it's actually in really good shape. There's some kind of a stain right here, which I pre-treated. The owner had said that the cat had done some upchucks on the carpet. She treated them, was having success getting them out for the most part, but said there was a couple that were still visible. So that was one right there, which I pre-treated with Proxy, and I'll show you what I usually use. That's the product right there. It works very well. It's a peroxide with a stabilizer in there. I don't know the actual strength of it, but I do know it works very well. So, I'm going to be doing the steps. And there's the workhorse after pre-vacuuming. The carpet didn't look like it needed vacuuming, but as usual, ouch! Ooh, that was my knee. Ouch! It did pick up a lot of junk, as you can clearly see. Isn't that nice? There is of course, down here we got the skin, and there's quite a bit of fur here, and there's a cat in the house. So, get rid of that. And the bedroom in here, this one is complete now, so that one's all finished. So I just have the downstairs and then these steps to do. And this is about a $300 job, so it's not too big a job. And with that, I'd just like to talk a little bit about pricing and how I price and why I price the way that I do. I know that a lot of guys do price a flat rate. Someone calls and they say, I've got, say, 3 rooms or whatever, and they'll say, well, 3 rooms are, and they'll give their price, so if it's $30 a room or $40 a room or whatever, and give the price that way. And in the past, I priced that way as well, but it must have been at least maybe 10 years ago or so that I realized that pricing by the flat rate was actually not the best way to go, and particularly since when you do that, you get into and I get into a lot of homes that are really quite large, and somebody who lives in a smaller place, if they have the same number of rooms, may be paying the same price as somebody who lives in a house with 2 rooms that are two or three times the size. And in reality, I don't think that's actually fair when you think about it. And of course, there was the usual hesitation is, well, how are you going to deal with people when they when they ask on the phone what's the price? Well, the way that I addressed that was I realized that rather than respond with a here's your price, which is a question usually the first thing people ask you is how much is it for X, Y, Z. What they don't know what else to ask. That's why they ask that. And so what we decided to do was to go to the square foot price, and we would always respond, well, before we we would say to them, well, here's the way our pricing works. And we would then explain that we were going to include sanitizing, deodorizing, anti-allergen treatment, and a protector. And the carpets would dry within 30 to 60 minutes, and they would stay clean up to 3 times longer than any other method. And when people right off the bat realize, oh, wait a minute, you're actually going to include things like that, then you're ready to say, and the way that we work pricing is, we tell them what the square foot rate is, and then if the person said, I've got, say, a living room, dining room, hall, my wife would be able to say to them, well, an average living room, dining room, hall will work out to, and she'll tell them, it averages this, but she'll always say, but the pricing is dependent upon what I actually measure when I get into the home. And in almost every case, the people understand that, they respect that, and we're able to, in almost every case, book the job. Now, that's not always the case, because some people actually can be rather rude, quite frankly, and they'll just say, well, if you can't tell me a price on the phone, I'm not going to call you, I'm not going to get you, or they actually, sometimes they even swear at my wife, or hang up the phone, and they're just rude and belligerent. But that actually doesn't happen that often, but it does upset her when it does, because we're actually being upfront and honest about how we work things, and it is in fact the fairest way to go, obviously, because for those who have a much larger house, it only makes sense that they should be paying for more area, because they're getting more area cleaned. And the larger the areas, obviously, the more time it's going to take. So I think it's only a fair and reasonable way to go about it. And that's how we did it, though, by the way. And when we did go to square foot pricing, it made a tremendous difference to our bottom line, actually, because we, as I said, we do a lot of big houses here in my area, and to be charging for the actual area, which will always take more time, or almost always takes more time, that's actually the proper way to go about doing this. This flat rate pricing actually kind of came about I think it came out about in the 80s, and see, the intent was to, there was a few big companies that started doing this, and the idea was that they were going to corner the market and dramatically increase their volume, and improve their bottom line or whatever. But in reality, in order to do that flat rate pricing, what they were doing was they began to omit steps in the cleaning process. Generally speaking, most who are advertising the coupon, flat rate pricing, don't have any intention of actually doing things like vacuuming the carpet ahead of time, and of course, if you want extra treatment for odors or whatever, or you want there I am. You want if there's bad stains or whatever, they charge extra for that. That hallway, which is more than 12 feet long, we're going to charge you for 2 hallways. There's all kinds of ways that what appears to be a low ball price in the door is upsold to increase the bottom line. Of course, another favorite tactic is the environmental fee. That's a good one. A lot of guys are just going and dumping their tank, on the street or whatever, whereas they're charging the customer to go to, the customer assumes they're going to an environmental facility to dump that water, but I'm pretty sure that very few actually do that. I suppose maybe they do somewhere, but anyway, the thing is that the flat rate pricing was, if you look at the history of how it came about, it was really intended, it was really a marketing ploy, and unfortunately what has happened is it resulted in through the 80s and into the 90s, a plethora of carpet cleaners that were really geared at high volume and in most cases low quality, and it actually, I think, has hurt the industry. Whereas when we go to a square foot rate, and we up front start saying, we're going to include this, that, and the other thing, which is what should be included for our proper carpet cleaning, actually, when you think about it, then we're able to slow down, take the time, really concentrate on giving people a quality job, and charge what we're worth and what we need to earn in order to make a living. Because it's not about having enough to pay the bills at the end of the month, this month, but maybe you're having a really busy time right now, but the business fluctuates up and down sometimes, and you've got to be able to be earning enough money that when those slow weeks are there, you still have enough to actually survive. And that's part of running the business in a business-like manner, is understanding that it's not just simply what you earn today, it's that you need to earn today what you will need for tomorrow, when it's the principle of sometimes you have a feast and sometimes you have a famine, and you want to be sure that when that famine comes, those feast days, you've been able to put aside money to survive on. So, and that is sometimes a hard lesson for new carpet cleaners to learn. Something really weird in the corner here, which it's a kind of there's a little hole in the carpet over there. Anyway, that was kind of what I wanted to get to and talk about. And the other thing I wanted to mention was somebody asked me about radio advertising, and I know some of you guys may be thinking about it, and I want to tell you that I have actually advertised on the radio in 3 different cities starting about 30 years ago. I did in Victoria, where I was living, and I was steam cleaning at the time. We had quite a snazzy sound and ad, I tell you. Cool sound effects and everything, and we were advertising at that time a flat rate. I don't remember what it was. I think it was $19 a room or something like that. It was really low because we really wanted to get the business and thought, nobody will say no to that. And we went for, I think it went for at least a month, probably a couple times a day, on one of the predominant radio stations in that city, and we got a total of, drum roll please, try and guess, how many calls did I get? Actually, I got none. Actually, seriously, I got none. And then a few years later, and it cost us, I remember it cost us a lot of money. We ended up owing like $1,200 or something like that. It was just, at the time, seemed like a huge amount of money, and it was. Anyway, and then I moved out of Victoria to the Okanagan, and I was steam cleaning again in the town of Penticton. And there was a radio station in the town of Summerland, and I ran an ad there for a little bit. Summerland is quite a bit smaller area, but I figured, well, it's a little community station, and maybe we'll get some response from that. I was hesitant about it, but it didn't seem to be a lot of money at the time. But anyway, we ran the ad for a little bit, and the response was 0. I think in one case we did get one call, actually. Can't remember whether it was in Victoria or in Summerland. But anyway, then probably a few years later. Now this, and by the way, the one in Summerland again was when I was running a steam cleaning company. And then a few years later, when I started Oxy-Dry, I decided to try radio advertising again. And there was a talk show radio station, a talk radio station in Kelowna, and it was pretty popular. So I thought, well, let's give it a try again. And it wasn't that expensive. I can't remember what it was. Well, it didn't seem expensive anyway at the time, I guess. So we ran the ads again. I think they went for like a couple of months or something like that. And the response was, again, a big fat zero. Although, oddly enough, at least a year or two later, I would on occasion have somebody say, "Oh yeah, I heard about you from on the radio or whatever." So they people did hear it. It's just that it didn't result in any calls. So anyway, and I betcha that if anybody else wants to comment on this on this video, or yeah, on the video on YouTube here, who've also done radio advertising, I would bet that most of us would agree that it's turned out to be a just a money pit. I don't know why precisely radio isn't all that effective, because the radio guys will tell you, "Oh no, all our surveys say that it works great." Of course, they always say that, but my experience has been that that was my experience 3 times, 3 different cities. So I guess, 3 strikes you're out, right? I think I gave it a very good try. There's that little sprout. The kitty has left all kinds of sprouts all over the carpet. Actually, on the face of this, there's a few places the carpet was really torn up, so I did snip them off, and it looks a great deal better now. It was looking really tattered in some places. You can still see it on the bottom of the step right there. That was probably one of the least areas where it was kind of damaged. I fixed it up, but the top stair was really bad over in the corner, and the one at the top was even worse. But I was able to snip all those sprouts off, and it looks good now. A lot better, anyway. So anyway, that's kind of what I wanted to sort of touch base while you're looking over my shoulder, cleaning. Pretty straightforward, easy job, you can see. And oh, by the way, in case you were wondering, I am doing a single pass on this carpet with the Iron Man. I didn't do a pre-scrub with a fiber pad because there were no visible built-up soil anywhere on this carpet. So in this case, I just used the Iron Man, and it's done a great job. That stain that was there is completely gone. And of course, now you're gonna want to see the pad. So let's have a look. Get the cord out of the way. And turn off my safety valve. That's actually fairly grubby, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah. Not bad. And then, so I'll just finish by doing the steps next. And then I will continue on my day. Just got a couple of little things to do after this, and that's about it. So anyway, hopefully that my meandering around with my thoughts there was helpful to some of you. And it was entertaining to watch a carpet get clean, but while you're sitting there drinking your coffee or whatever. Anyway, have a good day. Bye now.